Aaron Drake had always been known for his sarcastic yet oddly upbeat approach to his job. Serving as a bike patrol officer in a city teetering on chaos often felt like a joke to him, a mockery of justice in a world where crime seemed to mock the law. Yet, he found solace in humor, cracking jokes with colleagues about his noble mission of chasing off petty vandals from parks and playgrounds. That evening changed everything. The city was on fire, both figuratively and literally. Protests had spiraled into riots, with fires consuming buildings and looters rampaging through stores. Aaron was assigned to patrol one of the most dangerous districts, a task that sent his pulse racing even as he maintained a facade of calm. Pedaling through shadowed alleyways, his sense of control shattered when a deafening explosion rocked the night. Fleeing from an aggressive crowd of demonstrators, Aaron's escape took a tragic turn. A makeshift explosive hurled into the chaos detonated mere feet from him, throwing him off his bike. His helmet cracked against the pavement as the world dissolved into ringing ears and swirling dust. Blood trickled down his forehead, mixing with the grime of the street. But that was only the beginning. As consciousness slipped from his grasp, Aaron glimpsed the faces surrounding him, contorted in anger, fear, and something more sinister. They weren't protesters anymore. They seemed wrong. Their features twisted grotesquely, their eyes black voids, their forms darkened and feral like shadows conjured from nightmares. Faint whispers reached his ears. Judgment has come. Then, everything went silent. When Aaron woke, he was in a hospital bed, pain throbbing in his temples. Fragments of the explosion flashed in his mind, interspersed with surreal, grotesque visions. Doctors called his survival miraculous but warned of potential complications from a traumatic brain injury. Yet Aaron felt different. It wasn't just the injury. It was as if he'd glimpsed a truth no one else could comprehend. Returning to duty, Aaron was no longer the man he used to be. The world around him looked bleak, consumed by violence and depravity. One evening, patrolling a familiar neighborhood, he confronted a man attempting to break into a closed store. "Stop right there," Aaron barked, his voice cold and commanding. The man froze, his gaunt figure trembling. "Please, I just need money," he stammered. Aaron's grip tightened on the bike chain coiled around his hand. His voice dropped to a chilling monotone. "Are you a criminal?" "What? No, The man's words faltered. "Can I kill you?" Aaron asked, his tone as casual as if he were asking the time. Before the man could react, the chain whipped through the air, striking his head with a sickening thud. His scream echoed briefly before fading into the night. Aaron's blows continued relentlessly, the chain tearing through flesh as blood splattered across the pavement, his uniform, and the store's walls. His movements were automatic, unflinching. For the first time in years, he felt alive. When it was over, Aaron removed the helmet camera that had captured everything. Watching the footage, he saw the man's desperate pleas, the ruthless strikes of the chain, and his own unwavering expression. Without hesitation, he uploaded the video to the dark web under the title Righteous Rider, the First Judgment. That night, lying in bed, Aaron watched the view count climb at an astonishing pace. Comments ranged from condemning his actions to hailing him as a hero. But one comment resonated deeply. "Finally, someone is cleansing this world." Aaron smiled to himself. He didn't need the law anymore. He was the law. A few days had passed since the first killing. Aaron felt like he was living in a parallel universe. At work, he acted as he always did, joking with colleagues, laughing at minor infractions. But inside, darkness was growing. At night, he became someone else. And now, staring at the views climbing on his video, he felt something he had never experienced before: power. The comments under his video wouldn't leave his mind. "You're what this society needs." And finally, someone is doing something instead of just talking. People were calling him a hero, praising him. For the first time in a long while, Aaron felt his actions had meaning. But with each new judgment, his thirst grew stronger. He couldn't stop. His next target was a man trying to rob an elderly woman. Aaron cornered him in an alley, tackled him to the ground, and pulled out his bike chain. This time, he didn't just kill. He whispered in the man's ear, "It's not you. It's the system that made you this way. But I'm here to set things right." The man gasped, choked, struggling to break free. Aaron watched the life fade from his eyes. The camera on his helmet captured everything. Later, he uploaded the video, captioning it, "The Voice of Justice." His popularity exploded. The alias Righteous Rider spread like wildfire across the dark web and beyond. Memes, fan pages, even merchandise with his emblem began to appear. His actions seemed to inspire many, but his true triumph came when he decided to act publicly. One evening, Aaron prepared for something he hadn't dared before, a live-streamed killing. Everything was meticulously planned. He happened to be near a store when 3 men tried to rob it. Turning on the camera, he stormed inside. "Nobody move!" he shouted, his voice booming through a speaker on his helmet. The robbers froze, startled, then tried to attack him. But Aaron was ready. He knocked one out with his bike, shattering the wheel rim against the man's skull. The second one he grabbed and smashed with his helmet. The third tried to run, but Aaron caught him, using the chain he now carried as a weapon. Blood pooled on the floor. The camera captured everything. The screams, the blows, the final gasps. Thousands of viewers watched the scene unfold live. In the chat, the comments poured in, "Bravo! Keep it up!" Yet others called him a monster. The next day, the entire city buzzed with talk of the incident. The police were stunned. His brutal methods raised serious questions about who this mask of justice truly was. Among Aaron's colleagues was Lori, a seasoned patrol officer who had always found him a bit odd but friendly. Now, she noticed subtle changes in his behavior. Aaron had become quieter, more withdrawn. Sometimes, his jokes carried a disturbing undertone, as if he enjoyed something no one else could understand. One evening, Lori spotted Aaron in the station parking lot. He was standing by his bike, wiping something off his helmet. A glint of red caught her eye, something he was hurriedly trying to clean. "What's that?" she asked, trying to keep her voice casual. Aaron turned and smiled, but there was no warmth in his eyes. "Nothing, just got messy during patrol." Lori nodded but felt a chill run down her spine. She decided to keep an eye on him. Her gut told her Aaron was hiding something. Secrets that could destroy not only his career but the lives of many others. Each new raid pushed Aaron further into the abyss of brutality. Every victim became a darker testament to his warped sense of justice. But that night, everything unraveled. A quiet alley, dimly lit by a flickering street lamp, cast ominous shadows on the walls. Aaron pedaled down the street when he heard a struggle nearby. He dismounted silently, pulling out the chain he always carried now, and moved toward the noise. In the half-light, he saw a young man standing over a woman on the ground. It looked like an attack. Aaron didn't hesitate. His judgment had become automatic, almost instinctive. "You know the rules," he muttered, adjusting the camera on his helmet. The man turned, startled, hands raised in confusion. "What? No, you don't understand." Aaron had already decided. The chain whistled through the air, wrapping around the man's neck. Aaron tightened the loop, slow and unrelenting. The man gasped, clawing at the metal, his nails scraping against it until his fingers bled. His eyes filled with terror and tears. "You're all the same," Aaron whispered, watching the man's life fade away. When it was over, he turned to the woman to reassure her, but she wasn't the victim. She stood frozen, tears streaming down her face, clutching the lifeless body of her younger brother at her feet. "What have you done? That's my brother. He was just helping me pick up my things," she screamed, her voice breaking through the oppressive silence. Aaron froze. His heart pounded violently. He couldn't believe what had just happened. This is a mistake," he stammered, but his words felt hollow even to him. The woman sobbed uncontrollably and ran, leaving Aaron alone in the suffocating darkness. At home, his thoughts spiraled out of control, yet his obsession wouldn't let him stop. He watched the footage over and over, torn between guilt and the growing need to justify his actions. A voice in his head urged, "They'll understand. It's not your fault. It's theirs." And he hit upload. The video went viral, igniting a firestorm of controversy. The internet exploded with divided opinions. "This is horrifying. He killed an innocent man," some shouted. "It's the cost of real justice," others defended. Among those who watched was Lori, Aaron's partner. Her stomach dropped. The distorted voice on the footage was unmistakable. It was Aaron's. She began piecing together the puzzle. His strange behavior, the late-night shifts, his odd fixation with his helmet camera. The nagging suspicion crystallized into certainty. "No, it can't be," Lori whispered, but the truth weighed heavy in her chest. Determined to uncover the truth, she decided to check his apartment. Late that night, while Aaron was on patrol, Lori approached his place. Her pulse raced as she found a spare key hidden in a box by the door. Inside, her breath caught in her throat. The walls were covered with newspaper clippings about the city's most notorious crimes. A shelf displayed trophies, a torn belt, a bloodied piece of a helmet, even fragments of a knife. Lori moved toward his computer. The screen was on, showing a video editor. Dozens of files lay open, clips of the helmeted figure unleashing terror and death. She reached for her phone to record the evidence when she heard footsteps outside. Panic surged through her. She climbed out a window, sprinting blindly into the night. Her thoughts raced, each one more terrifying than the last. She now knew the full extent of Aaron's darkness, and it chilled her to the core. The oppressive night wrapped the city in a suffocating chill. Lori couldn't wait any longer. After weeks of surveillance and gathering evidence, she was almost certain that Aaron was the infamous Righteous Rider. But she needed proof. His actions followed a pattern. He always appeared where chaos brewed and always acted alone. Lori devised a risky plan. She created a fake report of a robbery at an abandoned warehouse on the city's outskirts. The location was perfect for a trap. Dressed in dark clothes and a mask, she posed as one of the robbers to draw him in. Deep down, fear clawed at her. If it really was him, would she make it out alive? Time dragged unbearably. Lori hid behind a concrete pillar, her pulse racing with every creak and whisper of the night. Then she heard it, the faint hiss of tires and the soft clinking of a bike chain. Her heart thundered. Aaron entered the building silently, a shadow in the dim moonlight spilling through the cracked windows. He held a bike chain in his hand, the links dangling like a coiled serpent ready to strike. "Well, what do we have here?" His voice cut through the silence like a blade. Lori froze, her trembling betraying her. Aaron's head turned sharply toward her hiding spot. "Take off the mask," he ordered coldly. Slowly, Lori raised her hands and pulled the mask from her face. His eyes glinted in the dim light as recognition dawned. "Lori?" he said, his voice a mix of surprise and suspicion, but the shock was fleeting. "Is this some kind of joke? Have you been following me?" "Aaron, you don't understand," she stammered, fear lacing her voice. "Don't understand?" He laughed, the sound low and chilling. "You thought you could outsmart me?" In a flash, he swung the chain and looped it around her wrists. The cold metal bit into her skin as he yanked her toward him. Struggling was futile, he was stronger. Aaron dragged her deeper into the warehouse, where shadows consumed everything. He forced her onto a chair and tightly secured her. Every movement sent sharp pain through her wrists, but Lori fought to stay calm. Any wrong move could cost her her life. "Do you know why I do this?" Aaron asked, pacing in front of her like a predator circling its prey. "You're sick," she whispered. "It's your trauma. We can help you." "Help me?" He leaned closer, his eyes gleaming with unhinged intensity. "Help me from what? The truth? You don't even realize how rotten this world is. I've seen it. I'm the only one who can fix it." He turned to a table laden with his tools. Sharp bike spokes, a knife wrapped with wire, and even an old helmet rigged with blades. "You think I kill for fun?" he asked, his back still to her. "No, I cleanse this world. A cold sweat dripped down Lori's back as she mustered the courage to ask, "What are you going to do to me?" "You betrayed me. You broke our code," he said, his voice dropping to a low growl. "But maybe there's still hope for you." He leaned in, his face inches from hers, the scent of sweat and blood filling the space between them. "You have a choice. Play by my rules or die right here." Lori's mind raced. Her gaze darted to the phone Aaron had placed on the table, its red recording light blinking. He was filming everything, as always. "All right," she said, summoning every ounce of strength. "I'll play." "That's better," Aaron said with a twisted smile. As he turned away, Lori discreetly shifted her chair, allowing the GPS bracelet on her wrist to fall free. She knew her team would locate her if the signal activated in time. Aaron returned, his grin widening with unhinged delight. "Let's begin. But remember, no surprises." The darkness seemed to tighten its grip on the warehouse as their deadly game began. The police picked up on the clues Lori had left behind. Her desperate efforts were not in vain. Even in a state of excruciating exhaustion, she managed to indicate the location of her imprisonment. The coordinates led to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city, surrounded by dense forest. The operation began without delay. SWAT teams moved quietly toward the building, but a foreboding sense warned them this wouldn't be an easy task. Aaron stood in a room filled with monitors, watching the live feed from cameras covering every corner of the warehouse. He knew the police were closing in. His hand rested on Lori's shoulder, who was shackled to a metal chair in the center of the room. Her face was pale, her body battered with wounds, but defiance still burned in her eyes. "You called your friends?" Aaron whispered, leaning close. "That was your choice." He smirked, his voice dripping with mockery. "I didn't want it to end this way, but now we're going to be legends. Me, the hero. You, the martyr who should have known better." He started a live stream, his face appearing on screens across the world, captivating thousands of his followers. "Welcome to my final show," he declared, a chilling smile spreading across his face. Outside, the police surrounded the building, searching for a weak point to infiltrate, but the first step proved fatal. Aaron triggered a series of traps. The lead officer approaching the door tripped a wire, setting off a series of explosions. Shrapnel tore through the air, forcing the team to halt their advance. Aaron watched the chaos on the monitors, a sadistic satisfaction lighting up his face. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he remarked to Lori, who could only watch helplessly. He picked up a knife and approached her. Lori struggled, but the chains binding her held firm. "Don't rush," Aaron taunted, his smile widening. "Your role is coming." The police pressed forward, losing officers to Aaron's elaborate traps. When they finally breached the central hall, Aaron activated a projector. His face loomed large on the wall before them. "Welcome to your final lesson," he sneered. "Now you'll see why I'm always one step ahead." The screen switched to show Lori sitting helplessly in the room. The officers rushed to save her but were met with a barrage of gunfire from hidden automated turrets. Only a few managed to avoid the deadly assault. "You're all guilty, just like her," Aaron said, turning toward Lori. His voice brimmed with righteous fury. "You betray the truth." He raised the knife and, with deliberate intent, plunged it into Lori's chest. Her scream echoed briefly before fading as her body slumped forward. Aaron stood over her lifeless form, his hands and shirt stained with blood. He lifted the camera, addressing his audience. "This is my legacy," he proclaimed. "You will remember me not as a criminal, but as someone unafraid to speak the truth." In that moment, an explosion from the far end of the room shattered the scene. The police stormed in, weapons drawn. A brutal firefight erupted. Aaron fought with a manic energy, wielding his knife, a pistol, and the traps scattered throughout the room. He managed to take down 2 officers before a fatal bullet struck his chest. As he collapsed, his hands reached for the camera. "I will be remembered," he whispered before his eyes closed forever. Once the police disarmed the remaining traps and secured the warehouse, they emerged victorious. But Aaron's followers had already clipped and uploaded the climactic moments of his show. His death went viral, immortalizing his twisted ideology. Though Aaron was gone, his ideas lived on, spreading like wildfire among his fanbase, who hailed him as a martyr. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share in the comments which part of the story left you holding your breath. And remember, sometimes the truth is more dangerous than any lie.